From $100 million super islands to $1 million rocks, Billionaires got the craziest private islands you'll ever see. This is the Billionaire Private Island Tier List. In 1992, co-founder Paul Allen dropped $8 million on an island off the coast of Washington called Allen Island. And it's not even named after him. F tier. In 2012, Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison bought Hawaii's sixth biggest island, Lanai, for $300 million. Well, 98% of Lanai. The other 2% is filled with actual Hawaiians, and billionaires can't officially buy people yet. But he did buy the rest of the land, the water company, the grocery stores, the hotels, the housing, and all of the businesses. So he has full creative license to turn Lanai into a utopia for rich people. He spent $450 million to turn both hotels into eco-friendly, wellness-oriented resorts. Got Jack Nicklaus to design a golf course, and even founded a company called Senseiag as his first step to revolutionize farming. And why is it called Senseiag? Because Larry Ellison kinda likes Japanese culture. But instead of becoming a samurai, he named one of Lanai's hotels after his new company, and Sensei the Hotel is low-key turning Lanai into a tech cult. Cause now, hotel guests have to pay $3,000 a night for some Blade Runner type health monitoring. Like, sure, you get spa treatments and massages, but you also have to wear health tracking sensors, get thermal body mapping, and eat meals tailored to your biometric data. And all of this is tracked by AI health coaches. Bro is really launching Skynet with room service. I love it. After making Jaws, director Steven Spielberg figured the safest place to relax with his family would be on an island completely surrounded by shark-infested waters. I wish I could hate on him, but bro made Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones, and E.T. In 2006, world-renowned magician David Copperfield didn't just buy one island. He bought a chain of 11 in the Bahamas for $50 million. Listen, when you spend your whole life making stuff disappear, it's probably nice to have something permanent. So he turned his favorite island, Musha Cay, into what he wanted to be the most magical vacation destination in the world. So, Disneyland. Except David Copperfield doesn't spend his time sucking the life out of classic movies. Instead, he built a beachside movie theater and custom-designed pirate village ruins. And if you want to really go crazy, you can drop $57,000 a night to star in scripted adventures. Ooh. Basically, Copperfield's staff will create custom treasure hunts with cast members, props, hidden clues, and full storylines that take you across the island. David Copperfield's really out here buying islands with no scandals, no cult, and no crime. Just living his magician dream. Grow the f*** up, man. In 1967, John Lennon bought Dornish Island off of Ireland for an insanely cheap $2,000. Probably because his island, which it barely even is a complete piece of shit. It's only 19 acres, with no resources, and never gets past 60 degrees year-round. But like every other billionaire, John Lennon figured any island is better than dealing with the press, but he didn't want to live there by himself. And with those awful conditions, the only people who would live there are hippies. So he got 25 hippies to come make a commune on the island, where they could go do acid in peace. They actually ended up living there for 2 years in tents, growing vegetables, and raising children. The hippies low-key hated it though, so thankfully after 2 years, the island's supply tent accidentally burned down, and everyone just went back to their normal lives. And after John Lennon died, Yoko Ono somehow sold the island for $30,000, because she didn't want to be associated with this absolutely horrendous purchase. Dude was legit a billionaire and bought an island cheaper than a 1995 Toyota Camry. C tier. In 2023, billionaire investor Stephen Deckoff bought Little St. James and Great St. James for $60 million, and buying these islands is quite the choice. Because before Stephen, they were Jeffrey Epstein's islands, like those islands, which are part of the US Virgin Islands, which is ironic because, anyways, Stephen bought them to create a world-class destination for wealthy people from all over the world to enjoy. But Stephen's already got a pretty dope setup built on Little St. James. There's a helipad, private dock, 2 pools, a main luxury compound, 4 guest villas, 3 private beaches, a gym, and a tiki hut. Great St. James doesn't have anything yet, but he plans to build a high-end resort and hotel there to benefit the local economy. Nothing says forward progress like a fresh coat of paint over a generational sex crime. Dietrich Mateschitz was an Austrian billionaire who owned an F1 team and co-founded the sickest company of all, S tier. Nah, I'm kidding. After he got rich though, he became super private because he hated being seen in public. So in 2003, he dropped $40 million on an island in Fiji just so he could dip whatever he wanted to. I feel you, Dietrich. But after a while, he got lonely. So he casually built one of the most exclusive resorts in the world. It's got 240 acres of farmland, 25 villas, each with a pool, a full 18-hole golf course, equestrian center, private sub, and a private airstrip and hangar. And while staff managed all the facilities and guests, Dietrich just chilled in his estate, drinking 12 cans of Red Bull a day until he died 20 years later. He gave us this though. Still S tier. In 1979, advertising firm CEO Ted Turner bought St. Philip's Island off the coast of South Carolina. He wanted to escape the media, which is ironic because he literally founded CNN the very next year. Crazy flex to buy an island as a millionaire, then become a billionaire within a year. But Ted definitely put way more effort into his fake news machine than the island. This thing only has one house, hiking trails, and an endangered turtle species. So we couldn't even use like half the island. Being a billionaire doesn't mean you have common sense. But in the early 2010s, Czech billionaire Yuri Smek visited the Maldives with his wife and loved it so much, he decided to buy an island for $200 million and turn it into a resort. And even though he absolutely knew nothing about resorts, Vela Private Island is now one of the most exclusive places to stay in the world. For normal guests, there's 4 restaurants with the most extensive wine collection in Southeast Asia, a golf academy by Jose Olazabal, a fleet of water sport toys, the biggest collection in the Maldives, a soccer field, climbing wall, and tennis, badminton, basketball, and volleyball courts. But if you really want to ball out, you can rent out the entire island for $1.3 million per night. Nothing else to say. Dude just bought an island, made it better, and dipped. In 2009, Tyler Perry bought White Cay Bay in the Bahamas for $6.4 million as a 40th birthday gift to himself. That's a flex, but the land was extremely underdeveloped, so Tyler imported water, electricity, and even palm trees from Miami. He also got the blueprint to construct a Balinese-style mansion, probably since he couldn't afford an island near Bali, and never finished it. 15 years later, it's still being built. Tyler Perry wastes money on islands he'll never be able to use. In 1994, telecom billionaire Craig McGaw bought a 780-acre island off the coast of Vancouver Island for $19 million. He'd heard that a bunch of big housing companies were planning to add 210 rich people homes to the island and completely ruin the land. And of course, that's disgusting. Millionaires don't deserve that kind of view. So to prevent that, Craig bought it to build a luxury mansion, 6 guest cottages, a Jack Nicklaus-designed golf course, private airstrip, a marina, and even a fake Wild West town. Dude saved the island from millionaires so he could own the whole thing as a billionaire. Perfectly balanced, as whole thing should be. In 1958, British aristocrat Colin Tennant purchased the Caribbean island Mystique for just $45 grand. At first, he was going to try to turn it into a cotton plantation, but buying people for work was starting to get frowned upon. So he did what all billionaires do when they fuck something up: pivot for PR. There wasn't enough resources for farming, but there was just enough for infinity pools and unlimited champagne. So he founded the Mystique Company to flip it into a luxury retreat. But 10 years later, no one was coming, and Colin was desperate for clout. So he gave 10 acres to the English royal Princess Margaret so she could build an estate on the island, and it actually worked. People like Mick Jagger, Bon Jovi, Tommy Hilfiger, David Bowie, and John Travolta all started partying on Mystique, and Colin finally got what he wanted: attention. Bro tried to bring back slavery. Google co-founder Larry Page bought 3 of the US Virgin Islands in 2014, an island in Puerto Rico in 2018, and an island in Fiji for 2020, for a total of $100 million. He put windmills and solar panels on one of the Virgin Islands, but only bought the other islands to protect endangered species, so he literally never uses them. Buying 5 islands just because you can is an insane flex though. Aristotle Onassis, what a fucking name by the way, bought his island to get out of the friend zone. In 1963, he was dating Jackie Kennedy's sister. Yeah, that Jackie Kennedy, and she became good friends with him, but she was married to the goddamn president, so there was no way Aristotle was getting a piece of that until... In the same year that JFK gets shot, Aristotle stops dating Jackie's sister, starts shopping for islands in Greece, and buys one called Scorpios for just $11K. At that time though, Scorpios was more like a floating rock. So Aristotle literally imported 2,500 tons of white sand, 200 species of trees, built roads, villas, a private harbor, and a chapel. And suddenly, Jackie is spending a lot of time with Aristotle, on his yacht and on his island. 5 years of friendship later, she marries him on Scorpios. To this day, he's the only confirmed guy to actually get out of the friend zone. In 2024, Australian infrastructure investor Michael Dorrell bought Tarpon Island in Palm Beach, Florida for $150 million. This 2.27-acre man-made island was originally bought in 2021 and featured a 1940s-era home, but Michael wanted to make this thing ready for the 2040s. So he remodeled the entire thing to make it look like some shit out of White Lotus. Now, this estate is 21,000 square feet, with a full-size tennis court on one side, a 40-foot pool on the other side, and a massive 100-foot swimming pool in the backyard, with a hot tub and a cold tub. Putting your Joe Rogan-ass cold plunge in the ground is some serious fucking money. There's a dining room with a full bar, living room with a brick fireplace, an entire wing for the kitchen, which has a breakfast bar and another living room. But everyone knows rich people don't know how to cook, so that first kitchen is probably just for show, because there's a second private chef's kitchen and a walk-in freezer behind it. Honestly, this place is so big, there's too much shit to list. It's got 11 beds, 22 baths, 10 washer dryers, a 5-car garage, a tennis pavilion, a pool room, a guest apartment with another kitchen, another another living room, an executive office, a master bedroom, and a private terrace with a marble crystal 6-shower bathroom. All that still doesn't make it a real island. In 2011, Australian billionaire Chris Morris found an ad for islands. There's an ad for islands in the newspaper. So he just spontaneously bought it for $6 million and turned it into a mid-resort, but he wanted it to be even bigger. So he bought the huge Pelorus Island in 2017 and also turned it into a mid-resort. Yeah, I'm not paying 20 grand a night to stay in that thing. John Malone is the second largest private landowner in the US with 2.2 million acres, but that's not enough. So in 1995, Malone bought 225 private islands off the coast of Maine to preserve a historic house from the 1700s. And that also wasn't enough. So Malone bought an island resort in the Bahamas called Sampson Cay, but a resort isn't a private island. So Malone closed the resort, destroyed it, and rebuilt villas, a restaurant, a marina, and fishing area just for himself, his family, and friends. 2.2 million acres in, and you still need a private island? What is bro compensating for? Billionaire newspaper tycoons Sir David and Sir Frederick Barkley wanted a private island so badly that they tried to overthrow a government to get it. So in 1993, they bought Burkow Island, a 74-acre rock off the coast of Sark, for $3 million. Even though that sounds like a fake name, Sark is actually a tiny self-governing island in the English Channel. It's technically a part of the UK, but vibes-wise, it's a mini private kingdom. And there's no cars, no streetlights, and no billionaires. And the Barkleys thought, hey, why don't we ruin that? So they dropped $60 million on a Gothic castle with granite walls, roads made of marble, 2 pools, a helipad, and a nuclear bunker. But they really wanted their own place. So they created their own stamps, made their own flag, and they tried to secede from Sark so they wouldn't have to pay any taxes. Unsurprisingly, Sark said no. But the Barkleys aren't just Karens who became billionaires. So they sued the government. They tried to rewrite Sark's constitution, buy off politicians, and even bribe people to run for office. Every single candidate lost. But the Barkleys can't handle defeat, and since they own some businesses on Sark, they clapped back by firing everyone right before Christmas. And like a fucking G, the Sark rulers still said no. So to top it all off, the Barkleys appealed to the UK Supreme Court claiming Sark violated human rights laws. This gotta be the most petty shit of all time. Thankfully, the UK basically rolled their eyes and dismissed the case. Only one of the Barkleys is still alive today, and if there's any justice in this world, he will die of cancer. In 1978, 28-year-old record label mogul Richard Branson was worth $5 million and dating a small-town indie girl. Not bad, but even at that level, guys are all the same, buying their girl insane shit just to hit. And one day, Branson and his girl saw an ad saying that one of the British Virgin Islands was up for sale for $6 million. She didn't know he couldn't afford it, so he lied, said he could, and flew them out to Necker Island the next day, and gave an offer to buy the island for 100 grand. The seller laughed and told him to kick rocks. But a year later, the seller was desperate for cash, and after some wild negotiation, and because no one else was buying, Richard got the price all the way down from $6 million to $180,000. I hope this girl gave him what he wanted, because the British government threatened to take the island back unless Branson could build a resort on the island in 4 years. So he expanded his brand into retail stores and airlines, made $10 million, and built the resort in 3. And bro went all out. He imported wood from Brazil, rugs from India, antiques from Asia, and art from Bali. Then he built a 10-bedroom villa at the top of the island that accommodates up to 40 people for a cheap $100,000 per day. But on the bright side, if you do drop a bag on this place, he also built 2 beaches, private pools, tennis courts, and bought a ton of water sports equipment for guests to use. Oh yeah, he also literally imported flamingos to this place, which feels illegal, but who gives a fuck when you're Richard Branson? Plus, the island isn't just used as a resort, it's a major celebrity hotspot. Larry Page got married there, and Obama loves it for vacation. And with all that hype, Necker Island is now worth $100 million. This dude flipped a record label into a space touring company, a girlfriend into a wife, and a cheap-ass rock in the ocean, to an island resort where he kite surfs with supermodels for fun. You may not like it, but this is what peak performance looks like. And if you have any common sense, you gotta hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, you're going straight to F tier.